Welcome in. It is the Waiver Wire Show, week 2. We are here to help you figure out what's going on because injuries are popping up all over the place. Jason Draven, Mike Berlin here to help. We are going to figure this all out. It's a big mess. Should be easy for you, though, thankfully. Definitely makes things theoretically easier. We have some good picks. Should be easy to get to. I don't think there's any, some big injuries, which I don't love, but that's just how it's going to be, unfortunately. So, Mike, how's it going?
It's going well. We're actually going to be spending the next 30 minutes talking about the Chargers. So sorry if you were looking for waiver wire picks, but no.
The real reason we're here. Okay, good to know you're still on, just ready to go with me. So, makes it easier.
No, it's kind of crazy with all the quarterback injuries. We got obviously Purdy we knew about, but Daniels, Burrow, McCarthy. So it's football's back, right? Injuries start piling up. Fantasy football is back. So try and help the people this week.
Yeah, the multiple weeks is what's kind of brutal here. Don't absolutely love that. So it makes it tough for sure. But oh well, just going to be how it goes. So clearly heard in all of that there are some quarterback injuries. So I'm going to lead off with quarterback. Of course, I'm going with the one that I think will actually last a couple weeks and is like the ideal streamer. Carson Wentz, 0.7% rostered. JJ McCarthy looks like it's going to be 2 to 4 weeks. It's a high ankle. We'll see. Looked okay, but Wentz this week gets the Bengals. It's so juicy. You want all of that. Joe Flacco and Trevor Lawrence already played the Bengals, threw for over 250 yards. Both scored touchdowns. Actually, Trevor Lawrence scored 3, so that's kind of a big boost. And, of course, I'm going to go back to the well and pick up Daniel Jones, still widely available, 11.4% rostered. It's just somehow he's, unfortunately, stealing the touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor, but John Taylor still having massive days, so you shouldn't be sweating it too much. I know it's not everybody's favorite thing, but just keep that in mind. It will be useful. Again, you're looking at a long-term play. See if this continues. It's a short trend, but I'm liking it. He's really seemed to step up his game, and I think everybody's really enjoying that. So, that in mind, those are my 2. Mike, who are you going after?
Yeah, I definitely like your 2. Do you think, real quick before we get into mine, is the McCarthy injury a little bit of a phantom ankle injury? Hey, we need you to have a few weeks to, figure out how to play quarterback, or...
I would normally say yes. However, I was watching that game pretty actively last night, and I did notice that he was limping a little bit. Wasn't sure what the severity of it really was, so I'm going to say it's real. But, yeah, it's definitely difficult to say, oh, no, it's an issue. So I don't know for sure. I'm going to hope that it's real. He's dealing with an injury. It's his first one, really. So just how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. But I went with a few here. Actually, I forgot. I'm going to add it to the list here. But Michael Penix,
still available.
Still available. About 28%. Didn't play well yesterday in terms of wasn't really asked to do a lot. They were running the ball really, really well. Vikings defense is tough, especially against quarterbacks. So to be expected. But first week against Tampa, he threw for 301, rushed for another one. He gets Carolina this week. So last season that was awesome. Actually hasn't been so great for fantasy so far this year. But
he's not throwing.
Still think he.
That's what's hurting him.
But
they're winning. And it's running. Bijan looks amazing, but they just aren't calling on him to throw a whole lot, and so the touchdowns aren't there, which is really just bringing down his numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, who knows? Maybe Bijan is going to just dominate that game. But, Jake Browning, we talked about Burrows. This is long-term if you need it. Jake Browning was actually pretty good when he took over as the starter for fantasy. When he took over as the starter back in 2023, he played in 7 full games. And his 17-game pace in those 7 games was 4,500 yards and 26 touchdowns. Threw a lot of interceptions. So he also had 7 rushing touchdowns, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, he was on pace for that. He had 3 over 7 games. So he was on pace for 30 plus touchdowns, 4,500 yards. He has the weapons. He's going to throw interceptions. He's not afraid to push the ball down the field, which for fantasy, that's all we really care about is fantasy points. We don't give us Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, give us 30 points, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. We don't care how many interceptions you throw because generally fantasy leagues don't really penalize enough for interceptions. So I think he's actually a pretty viable option, especially if you had Burrow. So he's in there. Bryce Young, I still believe can be good for fantasy. I don't know how many games the Panthers are going to win. I don't know if he's the long-term future for Carolina. I don't know all these things, but what I do know is that he threw, for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He can run the ball. He ran for 40 yards for in week 1 against Jacksonville. He was running a lot last year after he got benched. So I still think Bryce Young could be a pretty viable fantasy option for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially on Young. I really wish that he had a better O line. I think that's really holding him back quite a bit, and so makes it tough. Penix again. The issue remains is that they're winning ball games right now by running it and minimizing having to throw, which really hurts him in fantasy. But long term, I really like him. I like the talent there, and then I agree. Jake Browning is definitely a good option. But as long as you aren't penalized too severely for turnovers, because they will happen. So, of the quarterbacks, who do you like the most on this list?
Honestly, I think I would like Daniel Jones the most, just because he seems to have found something in this offense. He is always going to be a threat to run the ball. Is it going to be consistent? Probably not, but like you said, 3 rushing touchdowns. So they're going to use him around the goal line. So I'm pretty convinced that he's going to give you 5 to 6 fantasy points running the ball more weeks than not. Whether that's through rushing yards or a touchdown. So I think I like Daniel Jones the most. He has good weapons. With Pittman, Downs, Tyler Warren, Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, I think I like Daniel Jones.
All right. So, got somebody in the chat. Xavier is asking, is Daniel Jones a good change for Burrow? I'm kind of struggling now. And would you drop him? He's talking about Burrow. If you don't have an IR spot.
I think I would.
I kind of agree. And in redraft, you're definitely dropping him. Just there's not a point to it, unfortunately. So much rather roll with whoever for the next couple weeks. I doubt a whole lot of people. If you don't have an IR spot, people aren't going to clog up their bench with him. That 3-month period is going to be potentially game changing. So
that's mid-December. That's like pretty close to fantasy playoffs already. And who knows if he does come back? If the Bengals aren't winning, are they going to bring him back? I don't think so. So I no IR spot. I think you got to drop him.
So
in redraft.
Yeah, Xavier. So we're definitely thinking with no IR spot, you have to drop him for sure. Just kind of think that really the time frame is too long in redraft for sure. Unfortunately. All right. So we'll get out of quarterback, move into running backs, and I'm gonna say it because we slightly brought him up, and his numbers already skyrocketed for people getting him on the waiver wire. But Bashaw Tutin, 45.1% rostered. He's clearly the RB2 right now. However, it's because he looks explosive. LaQuint Allen is still there, and they almost play the same amount of snaps. So I'm kind of curious to see how that ends up working out. But Tutin definitely looked really good, hit a hole, scored, the things that you're kind of wanting out of that secondary running back for you behind Etienne. Etienne still clearly has a job, so I'm not worried about that. But looking at running back, it's hard to get away from if you need a handcuff, this is probably it for now. It's definitely a watch, though, because LaQuint Allen, like you brought up last week, is there in battling. So it could really be anybody's backfield. But that's the only running back I'm kind of looking. Everybody else got picked up. Quinshon Judkins, once he started practicing, everybody picked him up. He looked okay, especially considering he didn't have a preseason. So, but, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I kind of think of Tootin because he's not going to overtake ETN. ETN's playing too well and is just a good running back, and so that's not going to happen. I kind of think of Tootin a little bit like Keaton Mitchell or Tony Pollard there when he was with Zeke, where it's like he's very efficient with the touches. If you remember Keaton Mitchell there, he had about a 6 game stretch in the middle of his rookie year before he got hurt, where he wasn't getting that many touches, but he was super efficient, averaging 6 or 7 yards per attempt. Carrying the ball and stuff like that. And a lot of times when you get these change of pace guys, it happens because they're not expecting you to run, so the lighter boxes and all that stuff. So, he's going to have to be very efficient, but I think he can be. If he gives you 10, 12 touches and you get 3 catches in there, you could have something there for PPR. So I definitely like that call. And this is the last week you can pick him up, at least for a while. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I want not a whole lot again on the running back market, which is probably a good thing because guys are staying healthy for the most part. Kenneth Gainwell, though, he's playing a lot. He's not producing too much for fantasy, but he's hovering right around 50% of the snaps over the first 2 weeks. Again, not translating too much for fantasy, so I don't know what this really means, to be honest. But in deeper leagues, at least you're getting a guy who you probably know is going to give you 8 to 10 touches, and 2 or 3 of those are going to be catches. So you have kind of something there. Kyle Monangai for the Chicago Bears, the rookie 7th round pick, saw a big boost in his snap share. He played over 40% of the snaps this week, and 7 carries and a catch. Do they try and get him involved a little bit more? There's some other guys like Taj Brooks and Kareem Hunt and stuff like that. So not a whole lot in the running back room. Watch Woody Marks tonight. You can't pick him up because he's already playing for the Texans, but they made Dameon Pierce a healthy scratch. Is he going to get traded? There's a chance that Dameon Pierce gets traded, and maybe you want to pick him up if you think he does get traded somewhere. But Woody Marks is out there playing with Nick Chubb. We don't know how long Mixon's gonna last. And by the way, Woody Marks does have a 37-yard catch, so that was kind of his superpower a little bit in college, was catching the ball. So he might be a decent option as well.
Yeah, you're bringing up Pierce because you think he's going to the Commanders. That's going to be a good landing spot for him, maybe.
Could be. I mean, there's a few backfields where it's just they could probably use someone. And especially as injuries start to pile up. So you got Aaron Jones hurt too. We don't know how long he's hurt for. So yeah, there's a few different spots, I think.
All right. Done with running backs. Like you said, you're really looking at handcuffs at this point. There's until another big injury happens, everybody's going to be racing out for somebody. If you already have the handcuff, it kind of helps set you apart a little bit, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that. Move into wide receivers because my guy's still available. 2 widely available. Cedric Tillman, 42.3%. It's just, you guys need to get higher. It's too low. He's the wide receiver 2 on that team. They're seeing the same amount of targets, playing the same amount of snaps. Him and Judy are going step for step. He, again, got a touchdown this week. It's just too difficult for him not to be on your squad. Granted, that pass was not meant for him. He still caught it for the touchdown. So they're going to have to throw. That's not going to change. It's just too hard to get away from. And then I'm going to say it because it just breaks my heart, but Marvin Mims has just gotten beaten down by Troy Franklin, who's 4% rostered. Week 1, they were almost split. This week, Franklin even outsnapped Sutton, and that's not a great thing to see. But if you wanted Troy Franklin, now is your chance, because I'm betting when it comes to waiver wire day, he's going to be a hot commodity. It's crazy how many snaps he played and how good he looked after just 1 week.
Yeah, I love the Franklin call. Same with Tillman as well. I'm surprised he's even that low. There's a little bit of a worry, like how much longer are they going to be rolling with Flacco? And then
Gabriel
what does
looked
that
good
look
in
like
his
for these receivers?
1 series. I was pretty impressed.
Sure, yeah, and he could be decent. So But Franklin, I really liked Franklin when he was, the pre-draft process and scouting him and stuff. I was like, I like this guy. I think he's a good wide receiver. Fell in the draft a little bit to the fourth round, which is kind of a death note for wide receivers. It's very hard for those day three guys to do anything. But he had that connection with Bo Nix in college as well. They both played at Oregon, so there was that. So I really like that call, and it might be his breakout. I was kind of all in on Marvin Mims this year too.
Yeah.
Bummed to see it, but at least we're seeing Franklin, someone else that I like. So definitely like that call there. Alec Eilmanor is he's the wide receiver too for the Titans.
Super impressed.
And yeah, it's not. I mean, he had 4 for 56 and a touchdown this week too, which is great. So that wide receiver room as well. It's like, okay, Calvin Ridley's there. We think Calvin Ridley's the number one, but I don't think it's set in stone. Alec Eilmanor, if you followed the pre-draft stuff, it was kind of like you had Tedero McMillan, Travis Hunter, Emeka Buka, and then it was kind of like Eilmanor was like the next guy. He was in that top 5 wide receiver grouping. Kind of fell after during the off season to what was he, a 4th round pick, but I think he could be the best. It's not crazy to say he could be the best receiver on the team. I think Ridley's a good receiver, but it's just getting up there in age and stuff like that. So, Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, we thought he was just that safe PPR floor, and what happened? He had caught a 50-yard bomb. Is really what happened. So he didn't. He got more targets this week. He had more catches this week. He was about to kind of do what he does is, 6, 7, 8 catches for basically 9 to 10 yards per reception. And then boom, catches a 50-yard touchdown, pushes him to 142 receiving yards. So that's wow. I didn't expect to ever see that from Wan'Dale.
Are you kidding
so
me? I thought he was going to be a superstar when he was initially drafted. I thought, oh, this guy's got this job. He's going to be set. And then he kept getting hurt, and they just kept giving him that short area stuff, which he does great with. But, man, seeing him come open on that was just super impressive. I would not expect that every week. He's not going to score a touchdown for you every week. But if you want that 10-plus fantasy points every week, PPR, he's probably your guy.
Yeah, I mean, geez, like just kind of quickly looking through, like he did it basically like every week last year. He gave you 10, 11 PPR points.
Yeah.
Very rare that he didn't get you that, So
if it was, it's because of his injury, more than likely. He was likely missing parts of those games because he was beat up all last year, and I mean, just how he continues to push through. He's a monster. Does a lot of good work.
Dontavian Wicks, I mean, that Packers wide receiver room is frustrating as hell, but you have Jaden Reed who's injured. Obviously, Christian Watson's still injured. Someone needs to step up. We know Wicks, his issue has never been talent and stuff like that. It's just like being able to catch the ball, which is a big thing if you're a receiver. But he hopefully will play a little bit more. He did get 6 targets last week, so we know this offense is pretty good. And so we're just hoping that someone stands out, whether it's Golden, Wicks, one of those 2 guys, or maybe it's just going to continue to be Tucker Kraft. Who knows?
More than likely.
And then Kayshon Boutte. Yeah, probably. Kayshon Boutte. He is the, he only had 1 catch, but it was a touchdown catch, which is a little bummed. And that was very early on. I'm a little bummed they didn't go back to him. But he's playing a lot. He's kind of the only receiver that's consistently playing a lot of snaps, at least over the first 2 weeks. Demario Douglas, his snap share fell off. Stephon Diggs looked better, but he's still floating around 50%. Boutte was out there in 2 wide receiver sets, and they ran a lot of that in week 2. His 2 wide receiver sets. So it's good that he's out there in 2 and 3 wide receiver sets, because you're going to get production from him. So in deeper leagues, I still don't mind Kayshon Boutte and picking him up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He has that talent, and so it's definitely interesting to kind of see how that works out. And Wicks, I think also, Jaden Reed is part of the reason that he saw that bomb. Reed went out with the injury, and so if he's still gone, Wicks is probably a good call. It's really between him and Dobbs, and so that it's tough. That team is going to be so frustrating outside of Kraft, and now, well, we'll see how Mason does. I think Mason might actually have a good week with Aaron Jones out. I'm curious to see if they just use him full time in the role, or how if he ends up splitting with somebody. I can't remember who the third running back on that team is, but
Ty Chandler's still there.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
not great. So that's going to be another thing to kind of keep an eye on. Nope, Xavier didn't get it in time, but we will answer it. Xavier asked, would you rather have Tootin or Rashard White on your bench, but not as a handcuff?
Probably Tootin.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be Tootin for me. Mostly because I think if Irving were to go down, it would end up being whoever else, and White still splitting. White is just going to have that third down role, pass catching role. That's all he's going to be, unfortunately, for more often than not the entirety of the game. So I wish that there was more from it, but unfortunately, that's what you're going to get out of him. So much rather roster Tootin. All right.
Yeah.
That wrapped up our wide receiver section. Don't see any questions on it. So we'll move into tight end, and it's still my guy. Not getting away from it. Juwan Johnson still only 17.7% rostered. This is too low. Second week, over 95% of snaps. I'm pretty sure it was like 96.5 or something. So this week, he is clearly the second look on the team. Chris Olave, I think, just barely past him this week. He might still be, overall, I think he's still outplayed him by 10 snaps on the year so far. Granted, 2 games. So very curious to see how this continues to go. But if you're having a tight end that's seeing that many targets, it's going to be very difficult for me not to start him every week, in PPRs especially. I mean, he doesn't have to score. He's going to be getting double digits just because of targets. So if he gets the reception, it's even better. And if he can add even 8 yards a catch, you're going to be set. So that's my tight end. Who are you thinking, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, Harold Fannin Jr. is still out there in a lot of leagues, so don't mind picking him up. I'm still a little bit hesitant about what this production is going to look like because he actually dropped in snap share, and is he playing quite enough to be consistent? Usually not. When you're not above 70% snap share, you're not, you don't get consistency from tight ends, but he's been good the first 2 weeks, so you can't really ignore it. There's always maybe the off chance, like the Browns trade Njoku. Could that be a thing? And then really goes off. So we'll see there. And Brenton Strange, I mean, he's getting targets. The Jags are just frustrating in general, and Trevor Lawrence and everything. But Strange is at 9 targets over the first 2 weeks, 7 catches. He's also playing a good amount, so he's always gonna. He played at 90% of the snaps this last week. He's probably always going to be, giving you some kind of production, some kind of floor. So Hunter Henry just made it over the 50%, so we can't really talk about him. I know he had a down game a little bit, and he played a little bit less, but still believe in Hunter Henry as well if he's out there.
Another name that I pretty sure I was looking at, and I'm like, man, he saw a lot of targets. That's Jatavian Sanders. He's pretty widely available. He is out there a lot, so it's one of the reasons I'm going to bring him up. Granted, it's a Panthers, so trusting anybody is going to be outside of Tet is going to be tough, and Chuba. But if it's going to be a shootout, I'm keeping an eye on Sanders as, again, a player that I've really liked. I like the talent there. It's just if they actually use him or what they're planning to do. So just throwing it out there as another option. And if he's available, Zach Ertz. Because with Eckler being out, Ertz targets went up a little more, and I think that's just going to continue. I think he's just barely probably over 50%, if I had to guess, in most leagues. But you have to keep that in mind because if you're looking at tight end, that's definitely somebody I'm going to be interested in as well.
Yeah.
All right. Then we're moving in to our defenses. This week we're called the Chargers and the Rams. Rams looked pretty good. Now to see if the Chargers can hold up. However, for this upcoming week, Atlanta Falcons, 11% rostered. 2 weeks they are tied for first in defensive points. and it looks really solid. They held the Buccaneers to 23 points, or not 20 points, and the I can't think of who they just played. No, that was right. The Buccaneers was
Vikings.
23, and then they just played the Vikings and held them to 6. So again, it looks real, and they're going to try and control the clock. I don't think you're going to have a week where they go negative, and guess what? This week, they get the Panthers. So, like Bryce Young, I just think you just saw how a rookie did in the first matchup. I'm curious to see how he does again in another tough matchup. So, I guess he's not I guess Young isn't technically a rookie. He just really feels like it still. He kind of has it's probably due to the O-line and everything else that they have going on. But, yeah, he's going to be under siege all night. So, still really like the Falcons for this week. Mike, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Raiders. They get the Commanders maybe without Jaden Daniels. So that could be something to target there if Marcus Mariota is going to be the starter. I think Mariota is going to do okay, but, Raiders kind of held. They have some pieces on defense where it's not crazy to think like, okay, they can put it together. They held to the Patriots to 13 points, and then the Patriots just put up a bunch of points against a bad Dolphins team, 30 plus points against a bad Dolphins team. But maybe the Raiders defense a little bit better. We'll see them tonight against the Chargers. That will help you make that decision. Colts. I don't mind the Colts as well, playing the Titans and rookie Cam Ward there. So Titans, and haven't seen them kind of put together that big game yet. So you can kind of keep, that's what we did last year, right? It was target Will Levis and Mason Rudolph against the Titans, and you're kind of bringing it back until Cam Ward shows us, something else. So, two good options there, I think.
Yep. So that's just a straight call out for Steve. You're welcome. Mike got you covered with the Colts. Ugh. But all good. There is football on tonight, so we are going to get out of here. I hope you all finish this week too. Get your wins. Should be all set. I'm excited to see how football keeps rolling into next week. Hopefully your team keeps doing well. And with that, I hope you all remember to not only have fun, but to keep up the nonsense. And we